It's a hedgehog.
We've arrived at a riverside farm in South Wairarapa, where a group of excited 9, 10 and 11-year-olds have just stepped off a bus. They're in puffer jackets and gumboots and backpacks, ready to explore. But I reckon those jackets will be off soon because the mist and chill has burnt off. It usually hangs above the nearby Ruamahanga River on a frosty winter morning. It's turning into a real bluebird day.
Electric fences are on, so what does that mean?
Don't touch them.
Yeah, not a good idea. And it's not true, if you've been shocked once, you will never get shocked again.
This is just part of an inspired project by the farm's owners to restore the 107-hectare farm's wetland and riparian forest, to open it up to local people by creating a riverside walkway, and to provide children and young people with learning opportunities. We'll come back over the coming months and see how things go. But today it's about the kids and the river. And they set off to get there through the paddocks. That was Jane Ridderford giving the electric fence warning a moment ago. She and her sisters Liz and Lucy started the Ruamahanga Farm Foundation in 2021. But the fertile land here has been in the family since early last century. It was once used for fattening beef and sheep from a station on the coast.
I'm Jane Ridderford. I've always loved the river. When I was a child, I know I used to sometimes go down there, and at that point it was edged in lots of crack willow and probably every weed known to man. But I used to deliberately try and get lost. I just felt that it was a different place and I would enter a different time with the river. There's an old tikoka grove down there, and we used to camp down there and do all the things that teenagers do when they're on their own.
Jane is driving the project, and she's back home after decades working in environmental education overseas, including creating community gardens in inner-city London. She and her husband, Rod Sugden, returned here at the height of the pandemic.
It was during that time that a vision grew between all of us, and we started paying attention not only to the river but to the small pockets of remnant bush that are on the farm. And there are very few, but you can see these 3 kahikatea. I didn't even know they were there until 2014. That area that we're looking across was pretty much just a drain and crack willow. But then about 5 years ago, the willow had been cleared and they stood out, and we realised that what we had kind of thought of as a drain was actually an oxbow of the river, and that the river would have meandered all across here. We suddenly thought, gosh, what would it be like if we restored the wetland to how much of the Wairarapa would be? And we began to think of the 3 kahikatea as the 3 sisters. I have 2 sisters, Liz and Lucy, and they were like sentinels of what was and what might once again be.
So planting's begun with the help of volunteers, and the kids' activities are well underway.
At first it seemed a bit like the emperor had new clothes, because it was like, what are we doing here? We're restoring a wetland and it just looked like a scrubby bit of paddock. But it was so great that my sisters and Rod were on board with the vision, and my mum as well, because she just in her life has witnessed so much change in the way that land is used.
Why not keep this very rich, fertile, productive land in food production?
Oh, well, yeah, we're not rewilding the whole thing. This farm is 107 hectares, and I think long-term it'll be about 15 hectares that are set aside, and they are all the areas that are beside the water. So for the rest of the farm, we're in a share farming arrangement with 2 other couples, and we're very focused on restoring the soil and bringing mixed species, all the things you'd hear in, I guess, good farming circles.
the children reach the riverbank and settle down to listen to Rod tell a story. The awa is the backdrop, busy with ducks flying in and out and pukeko scurrying around on its banks.
Okay, so if you want to get yourselves nice and comfortable, let's just sit still for 30 seconds or so before we get into our story. So if you want to make your body nice and still. Hi, I'm Rod Sugden. I'm one of the educators, you could say, here at Rimahanga Farm. And I'm involved in the restoration project here. And part of our restoration project is also working with children and young people. And we do different activities to do with the land and the river here. And we also use storytelling. We feel that these stories convey hidden messages, you could say. Stories that can give children and young people a deeper sense of themselves, others around them, and the world in which they live. Sometimes her journey required her to change her personality, to become fierce and to become strong. At times like this, she would rush down small valleys and she would carry all sorts of things in her waters. She might have been carrying fish, yeah. Wood, yeah. Eels.
Little rocks and shells.
Yeah, little rocks and shells.
Stuff that we put in it.
Yes, rubbish as well.
Like leaves.
Leaves, all these things she would carry in her waters as she rushed down the valley, and she rushed and rushed and rushed with full force. And now that she'd left them behind, it enabled her to go higher and higher and higher into the sky, further and further and further away. Higher and higher, further, further, higher, higher, further, further. And there was great crying from the Bikeko as she did this as well. And she came to a mountain, they came to a mountain. And it was there at the mountain that the wind let her down as rain. And then she continued on her journey.
I see you blended in the birdsong in this one.
Well, actually, we've chosen some stories that we particularly like, and then we've learnt those stories. And if something happens while we're telling the story, we try and incorporate it into the story if we can. So today, when I was telling that story about the river and the Pukeko were singing and crying in the background, then I try to bring that into the story, so it's not like there's the story and there's the outside world. There's two different things going on. I try to kind of make them one, as it were. We had quite a lot of accompaniment there from the Pukeko. They were part of the story there, I think. Maybe they were listening too.
Storytelling, it's something people have done forever, but I always feel it shifts the atmosphere and it opens up a different kind of listening. And sometimes we also thread in moments of just sitting still, and we say nature has a way of coming to you as well as your senses opening. And so we do that, and then we do quite a lot of reflective work, written and spoken word. So we now have a big tent down by the river that we call our field classroom, and they'll do writing there or we'll go back into the school and they'll speak. And sometimes we get them to inhabit different perspectives, so they might write about the journey of the river or the growth of a tree from the first person. And I think some of that work it's just enabling children and young people to find their own stories and give their own voice for what's happening, but also to break down those boundaries and that whole idea that, nature is something out there that we need to do something to. And rather than, as one of them said, oh, we're all part of a big family, we're all connected.
Hello. I trust you.
Just heading down now to the river after that beautiful story by Rod. That's really set the scene. The children have got all sorts of tools, nets, buckets, drains. I'm wondering what's going to happen now.
Well, as I found out, it's time for the sciencey part of the morning. Joining Maddie and Kara from the conservation charity Mountains to Sea Wellington. A chance to tinker with pipettes and magnifying glasses and slosh around in the water in gumboots.
Health and safety kind of briefing before we get into doing our fish biodiversity survey. It's really important for you guys not to get into the water past your gumboots. And you'll just need to be a bit patient while we go and get the traps. We'll bring the traps up to where you guys are on the bank of the stream, and we are going to do a little identification of fish, as well as measuring the fish and then releasing the fish, okay? Ko Kararihia Kene taku ingoa. I work for Mountains to Sea Wellington as a freshwater coordinator.
Why catch the fish in the first place? What's the point of it?
Scientists do this for our fish biodiversity surveys, so we kind of make it more basic for the kids to kind of interact with their environment, to create memories and even spark an interest. I feel like if they can see, feel, touch and use all of their senses, then that's really valuable for their education. So if we can harness all the different aspects of what the river can give to us and learn more about it, then it enacts kaitiakitanga within our tamariki, which is awesome.
Good decision. So if you want, we're going to be gentle and take turns and go around the circle, and you can pop your hands in and try and see if you can hold a fish. No grabbing, because it is a live animal, and big rule is...
Is it a tadpole?
Hey guys, are you listening? Yeah. Cold, wet hands when you touch the fish, alright?
So do we go around the circle?
Yeah. So do you want to start here? You're bending over first.
Closer to me. Oh, there's two fish. Can you move over, please, Thomas? I got one. Oh my god, it's amazing. There he is. Oh.
Did you get it?
Yeah, he did.
Nice one. Did you get the shrimp or the bully?
The shrimp.
Alright.
Next, the traps for the bigger fish are checked, but no eels or fish. Still, it's a chance to bring in more information and even a story or two.
Okay. Can you guys see the moon right now?
Yeah.
Yeah. So at the moment it is, do you think it's waxing or waning? Waning means it's getting smaller, and waxing means it's getting bigger. So put your hands up if you think the moon is waning. Cool, hands down. Put your hands up if you think the moon is waxing. Cool, put your hands down. So at the moment the moon is waning, so it means it's getting smaller to us, okay? So we've had the full moon like 6 to 7 days ago. So it might be the reason why we haven't caught any fish in our nets. So I'll just share a short story about a water nymph or a water fairy, and this water fairy, her name is called Hiriwai. Now Hiriwai, when a full moon was out, would travel down to the river and she would dance for her mother, the moon. And as she danced, she would glow bright, just like the moon. And as she's dancing, in the water is this huge tūnaku wharuwharu, which is the te reo Māori word for the long-fin eel. The tūnaku wharuwharu, or here in the Wairarapa we call kōpuku tuna, was lying in the depths.
You didn't catch many fish, or you didn't sort of trap them as you planned, did you?
No, I was hoping to catch a couple trout or a perch at least, but we had quite a lot of rain last night, and the the hydrology or the morphology of the river changed quite a lot over the last 12 hours. So I'm really stoked that the kids were happy to see a couple bullies and freshwater shrimp.
You wove in a lot of things. Language, science.
Yes, it is very much like the tide with its ebbs and flows. You just kind of roll with the punches and tailor each program depending on the types of kids or the teachers, and that's part of the creativity of this role that I really like. I whakapapa to Wairarapa Moana, and I have a background in biological science and zoology, and so I think marrying my two worlds together in what I do is really fulfilling, and I also see so many comparisons in both realms, even though people may have different perspectives and that they may be separate, but I feel like they talk a lot to each other about how the world works.
And what sparked your interest in the first place? I know you said you're from here and you've got a great connection with the awa.
Yeah, I guess it all started out with my papa, my grandfather. He would take us down to the river with me and all my first cousins in the back of the van, and we would just explore the rivers of the Wairarapa, and yeah, I think it just kind of sparked from that childhood memories. Yeah.
You've got it, Scarlett?
It's a pretty big one.
You got it? No, my baby's got rocks in it.
So a lot of these bugs are teenagers.
We've got a leech.
So when they become an adult, they become flying insects. Even this thing, which is called a midge.
Oh, it's not a leech. Is this a leech?
A midge.
I don't think we have a leech. We do, that is a leech. It's a midge. What is that? No idea, but it's a bug. We did, but we can't catch it.
Can I ask you guys some questions about what you've done here? So what's the most interesting thing you've done today?
I like the bugs. I like these bugs. Probably the bugs as well, because it's very interesting how many you can find when you can't see them.
Is it surprising how many bugs you found?
Yeah, but there's so many bugs in one rock, it's surprisingly hard to catch.
What else have you learnt today so far?
That the moon determines what the fishes do, and that there's heaps of fun things you can do just at a river.
Mayfly, nice one. So we've got a mayfly.
What is that one? What's that tiny thing?
How many tails does it have?
What
I see?
2.
So we might need that magnifying glass.
Alright, go get a magnifying glass. Oh no, my knees
So I think if we look really, really closely, it's actually got...
It was a busy morning and not over yet. There was water quality to measure and even an action game based on the bugs and fish the children identified.
We're going to be playing a game, okay? So remember, a mayfly has 3 tails. Cool. You might also find a stonefly. A stonefly, 9.5 degrees. That's pretty good. That's pretty good, alright? So I want you guys to remember, because next week when we come back, we're going to look at wetlands and we might get different numbers. So now this little thing measures how clean the water is. This is called a conductivity meter. Can everyone say conductivity?
Conductivity.
And basically it shoots electricity through these metal prongs, and it measures how much molecules are in the water. So
11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16.
H2O, okay?
Alright. Wait, what do? You put your eye to it and say when you stop. Say stop.
What's your vision for this project? Can you picture it in your mind's eye and describe it?
Yeah, I can. I can picture, well, a thriving ecosystem, a river and a wetland with the kind of fish that used to be there and that we don't really see anymore, like the giant kokopu. and all the birds that are slowly beginning to come back in, and I would like to see the farm thriving economically as well. The soils are healthy and it's able to be financially viable, and I'd like to see the community involved in all aspects.
Thank you so much. See you later.
Another busy morning with the Ruamahanga Farm Foundation. Head to our webpage for photos. That music, by the way, composed and played by Rod Sugden, who featured in the story along with Jane Ridderford. I was also speaking to Kara Kenny and Maddie Glover of Mountains to Sea Wellington, and some of the children of Martinborough School.